Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much for having me here today. The topic is shifting relationships and the emerging Middle East order. Before I address that topic, I'd like to take you back 50 years to show you that nothing has changed in the Middle East. We had in the 60s the Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States. We had the Baghdad Pact. We had the 1973 October War between Israel and Arab countries. We had the Soviet Union trying to infringe upon the Middle East in search of a warm water port and in search of dominance over strategic waterways such as the Bab al-Mandab area when the Soviet Union had a presence in Somalia. We had in 1979 the Khomeini Revolution, which unleashed sectarianism, terrorism, violence all across the Middle East, and it's still continuing today, and we're paying the price for it. We had the Afghanistan war in the 1980s, where the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, working very closely with the United States, was able to eject the Soviet Union from Afghanistan. We had Saddam's invasion of Kuwait in 1990. We had the rise of Al-Qaeda quietly, along with the Taliban in the 1990s in Afghanistan, which manifested itself in the events of 9/11. We had the American invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. We had the war on terrorism, which has been raging since. And then we have the events in the Arab world of 2011, 2012, which have brought instability to our region. Today we have conflict in Syria, in Iraq, Yemen, Libya, the Sahel countries. We have tensions in Lebanon, in the Horn of Africa, and the list goes on. We have terrorism in the form of Hezbollah, the Houthis, Boko Haram, Taliban. And the only difference is that today the conflicts are driven by regional actors bent on changing the regional order rather than outside powers trying to dominate the Middle East. And the primary regional actor for instability has been the Khomeini revolution in Iran and the behavior and the actions of the Iranian state ever since. What is different today? After having given you this less than optimistic picture, let me be more optimistic. I think there is change in our region, and the change is very significant. There is a focus on economic growth and economic diversification. There's a focus on innovation, technology, efficiency. There's a focus on youth and empowering women. There's a focus on creating transparent, accountable, efficient governments that can provide a better future for our citizens, and in the process improve the standard of living, which we believe will contribute to stability in different countries. We are now dealing in the Middle East with two competing visions. One is a vision of light, which seeks all the things I just mentioned, and one is a vision of darkness, which seeks to spread sectarianism, encourages terrorism, seeks to dominate other countries, and seeks to destabilize the region. One is what we stand for in Saudi Arabia and in the Gulf countries. The other is what Iran stands for. And I believe if we learn from history, we always know that light always triumphs over darkness. And so we are going through a challenging period in the Middle East, but it's not more challenging than what we went through 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, or 40 years ago, or 50 years ago. The problems we are facing, or the challenges we're facing, are surmountable. And we will, God willing, with wise leadership and perseverance and a pragmatic, proportional, rational approach, overcome them just as we have overcome past problems. So I have no concerns about where the region will end up. It will end up in a better place. It will end up in a more prosperous place. And it will end up in a more peaceful place. But the challenge we have is how do we deal with the forces of darkness? How do we push back against them? And how do we persuade them to either evolve into something else, or how do we defeat them? Thank you.